The lesson I chose was based on the book A Seed is Sleepy by Diana Hutt Austin with illustration by Sylvia Long. A Seed is Sleepy is a book which explores the life of a seed, from planting, germination, and then eventual sprouting and growth. The lesson was taught to a second grade class over a 5-day period of approximately 20 to 30-minute sessions. The lesson took place in a homogeneous second grade classroom. The objective of the lesson is to explore the author's use of figurative language and vocabulary to describe the complex life of a seed. The student will learn to identify root words, read cursive, and explore reading comprehension. The lesson aligns with the ELA Common Core standards. The book is an informative text and thus aligns with reading standards for informational text K through 5. The lesson implemented a bunch of learning theories. The teacher facilitated a learning environment which promoted discovery and accommodation. Differentiation was an integral part of the lesson. Students were able to continue activities at their own pace when completing their diagrams, drawings, and explorations. They created their own cards to show how a plant is grown. How a seedling becomes a plant was their own work. Students were engaged at all times and were active participants. The lesson complies and aligns with the at least 15 ELA Common Core standards. The topics cross reading informational, writing, language, and speaking and listening. The covered Common Core standards, reading informational standards. 2.1. Ask and answer such questions as who, what, where, when, why, and how to demonstrate understanding of key details in a text. 2.2. Identify the main topic of a multi-paragraph text as well as the focus of specific paragraphs within the text. 2.4. Determine the meaning of words and phrases in the next text. Age appropriate. 2.6. Identify the main purpose of the text, including what the author wants to answer, explain, or describe. 2.8. Describe how reason supports specific points the author makes in a text. 2.10. By the end of the year, read and comprehend informational text, including history, social studies, science, and technical text in the grades 2 to 3. Text complexity band proficiently with scaffolding as needed at the high end of the range. Writing 2.2. Writing informative explanatory text in which they introduce a topic, use fact and definitions to develop points, and provide a concluding statement or section. 2.8. Recall information from experience or gather information from provided sources to answer a question. Language 2.1. Demonstrate commands of the conventions of standard English grammar and usage when writing or speaking. A. Use collective nouns. B. Form and use frequently occurring irregular plural nouns. C. Use reflective nouns. D. Form and use the past tense of frequently occurring irregular verbs. E. Use adjectives and adverbs and choose between them depending on what is to be modified. F. Produce, expand, and rearrange complete, simple, and compound sentences. Language. Demonstrate 2.2. Demonstrate commands of the conventions of standard English capitalization, punctuation, and spelling when writing. A. Capitalize holidays, product names, and geographic names. B. Use commas and greetings and closing of letters. C. Use an apostrophe to form contractions and frequently occurring possessives. D. Generalize learned spelling patterns when writing words. E. Consult reference materials, including beginning dictionaries, as needed to check and correct spellings. Continuing with language. 2.4. Determine or clarify the meaning of unknown and multiple meanings, words, and phrases based on grade 2 reading and content, choosing flexibly from an array of strategies. A. Use sentence level context as a clue to the meaning of a word or a phrase. B. Determine the meaning of the new word formed when a known prefix is added to a known word. C. Use a known root as a clue to the meaning of an unknown word with the same roots. D. Use knowledge of the meaning of individual words to predict the meaning of compound words. E. Use glossaries and beginning dictionaries, both print and digital, to determine or clarify the meaning of words and phrases. Still continuing with language. 2.5. Demonstrate understanding of word relationships and nuances and word meanings. A. Identify real-life connections between words and their use. B. Distinguish shades of meaning among closely related verbs and closely related adjectives. 2.6. Use words and phrases acquired through conversations, reading and being read to, and corresponding to text, including using adjectives and verbs to describe. Speaking and listening standards. 2.1. Participate in a collaborative conversations with diverse partners about grade 2 topics in text with peers and adults in small and large groups. A. Follow agreed upon rules for discussion. B. Build on others talk in conversations by linking their comments to the remarks of others. C. Ask for clarification and further explanation as needed about text and topics under discussion. D. Seek to understand and communicate with individuals from different culture backgrounds. 5 things every teacher should be doing to meet the Common Core State Standards. According to Lauren Davis, senior editor of Eye on Education, every teacher should make sure to meet the Common Core standards by doing 5 things. 1. Lead high-level text-based discussions. Focus on process, not just contents. 3. Create assignments for real audience and real purpose. 4. Teach arguments, not persuasions. And 5. Increase text complexity. Criteria 1. Questions and discussions were about attention to specific word phrases and sentences in the text. The words that the author used were analyzed and discussed. Questions were asked about specific phrases and sentences to ensure careful comprehension and promote thinking skills. Criteria 2. The students were able to meet criteria number 2. They did not merely learn the content of the book, but they were given opportunity to discover information on their own. The vocabulary became their own as they were able to make text-to-self connections about new words. Examples: what does it mean to be sleepy? How do you feel and act when you are sleepy? Criteria 3. The assignments given were authentic experiences. The students understood the use of the personification to help them understand the complex and adaptive life of a seed. The book describes many of the characteristics of a seed using the stem, a seed is blank, with unusual adjectives like secretive and adventurous. Students were able to create their own responses and use other type of similes and metaphors. Criteria 4. The story did not lend itself to number 4. Teach arguments, not persuasion. The students were able to present information that was text-based. However, they did not need to argue or persuade anyone about the facts. Criteria 5. Text complexity was definitely an integral part of the lesson. Children were able to explore the meaning of the phrase, a seed is a secretive. Why does the author use the word secretive? What does the seed do? Can it really keep secrets? What if it could? The same thing was done and analyzed when the sentence, a seed is invented, was read and dissected. The text was complex in the way it describes the seed. It feasts on minerals in the soil. The root, quote, digs down deep, end quote. The shoot reaches for the sun. That text was complex and kept the students' interest. They could develop the mature language skills and concepts to succeed in school. Despite my natural gravitation towards towards critiquing everything I come across, I really think the lesson was really well developed and thought out. The lesson did not need much revision. The lesson did not need much revision. The material presented was difficult enough that the students learned something new, but it was not too hard that they gave up. The lesson was grade appropriate and aligns with the ELA Common Core standards. The purpose of the lesson and learning outcomes were clearly identified. The selected the book, opened the door for science connections, language arts extensions, art projects, reading skills, building, and so much more. If I were to offer some small critiquing, differentiations could have been also used when students could have tested out their own theories by planting beans and other seeds under various conditions and different planting media. Each child did the same type of experiments without differentiations. A lesson about the seed of the food we eat could have been presented. Seeds from apples, pears, oranges, watermelons, etc. could have been cut open and analyzed. I would have liked to have seen a link to an interactive website or even a YouTube time lapse of seeds growing. You could play the example that I presented here. It was also the perfect time to have discussed the parts of a plant using an interactive website. This leads to the language and thinking skills about something like why carrots, celery, lettuce, potatoes, etc. do not have any seeds. It would have also been helpful if the students were to have written an informative explanatory writing piece. I am a seed as per Common Core Writing Standards 2.1, 2.3. This would be accumulating differentiated assignments. In conclusion, the lesson met Common Core standards and most importantly, helped the children gain knowledge and information to help them succeed in life.